Hey, welcome back to another Black City Coffee vlog. In this video, I wanted to share with you guys how I'm roasting Mr. Coto, which is a coffee that we have right now. It's doing fairly well. From Guatemala. It's a natural processed coffee. Mr. Coto, named for the farmer, the family. And how I'm roasting it dark. And I always thought or had trouble roasting dark coffees. It's much easier for me to roast something aggressively, fast, high quality, and a light roast, because you don't have to control the heat for as long. So I find that dark roasts are always challenging for me, ever since the beginning, actually. So I wanted to share how I've been doing it. I feel like I'm getting better at it. I'm tasting flavors through the roastiness, which I think is good. I'm not just roasting it and then calling it dark. I'm trying to preserve and keep things sweet and keep things tasting good, and without just kind of like putting a blanket of like dark roast over it. I'm trying to anyway. So this is what I've been doing. For every coffee it changes. It does change for me. I can approach dark roast in the typical format of like, okay, I'm going to attempt a 40-40-40 or a 4 minute, 4 minute, 4 minute, which is kind of like what you see here. 4 minutes, 30, 4 minutes, almost 5 minutes here, 4 minutes, 21 here. And that all depends. That's like a really, really, really basic template. I learned this from Mill City Roasters. They're like, well, you can just try a 4 minute, 4 minute, 4 minute in the first, second, and third phase of the roast and see where that takes you, For me, and this in particular for this type of coffee, okay, because it's going to change it's going to change a little bit depending upon the process, the elevation, what type of coffee it is, and how it tastes ultimately, right, in the cup. Like, does this still taste good at, a development of 31%? And I've been playing with this, like, is 25 okay? Like, is 35 okay? And it will depend also to like, how old is this coffee that's been sitting here? Because it's just more responsive to heat, right? So all those things kind of play in. So that's why I want to be really specific about this. This is not how to roast dark. This is how I'm roasting Mr. Coto in particular at this point in time to a dark roast, or what I'm comfortable selling as a dark roast, okay? So I have some, even though my machine can't track my fan, fuel, and drum, okay, I'll let you know here. 370 charge, dark roast. These are my little notes. And I love that RoastPath has now this ability to add profile notes very quickly, very easily on the desktop, after it's been said and done. Because during roasting, I can't really access the note taking on the software until later. It's just a little too slow for me, and that's not due to RoastPath. It's due to my machine that I'm using, my little Microsoft Surface. So, in particular, I've been playing with temperature, obviously. Since I don't roast a lot of coffee, I don't feel that I'm maintaining a consistent temperature when I'm roasting. So I need to be mindful of that with every time I step up to the roaster, okay? So with this one in particular, I came down to temp. That means I preheated above this charge temp of 370. And then I was like, okay, I'm hitting like 380. Let me hover here for a couple minutes. I don't need to hover there very long. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm at say I'm at 400. And I'm like, I need to come down to 370. So I write that down, came down to temp. So I'll turn off the gas. And because this is a lower elevation, natural processed coffee, I want to be quote unquote gentle with it. So I don't want to hit it with full power of gas. So I've been using this temperature when I come back to temp at 2 kPa. So for example, I load the hopper at 375. I'm down to 370. I open the hopper. I hit the button on all these. I hit the timer on the machine. I turn the fuel back on. Okay. And then I have the gas gauge already set to 2 kPa. Okay. So all this is happening at the same time. And I have to be like dialed in and paying attention, make sure I'm hitting every button and all that stuff at this time. And yeah, it seems to be fine. You know, I know there's a delay once hitting that button. So I hit that button. There's like, 10-second delay till the flames are all kind of like on and burning. And we could maybe confidently say that we're at 2 kPa, but we're not. There's going to be a sort of delay, like I said, right? But again, we're trying to go gentle with this coffee. We know we don't need a lot of power up front. We're already getting enough power by having a 370 charge and no soak. Okay? It's just kind of like a faux soak. Because if I'm hitting the button right when I open the hopper, there's some soaking going on where basically the beans are hitting the drum with no heat on. The heat hasn't been on, right? It's coming down to temp. So in a way, it's a sort of, this is where the intuition comes in, okay? How well do you know your machine to do what it needs to do, okay? So these are not, like I said, that's why this is not a how-to. This is how I roast dark roast for this particular coffee, Mr. Coto. So I want to belay that information because sometimes people hit me up in the DMs and they're like, oh, your curve looks great, or this and that, you know, talking about like the technical aspects of this coffee, and then maybe they compare it to theirs, and it doesn't match up, you know, and of course it's not going to match up. So this is not a tutorial of how to, this is a tutorial of, I guess, how I, okay? Be very clear about that. So, okay, so we turn around at 1:15. That all looks good. Green to yellow at 4 minutes 32. And I've mentioned this in another video, but I'll mention it again, that when I hit green to yellow transition, I used to be able to change two things pretty much at the same time. Now I change air. So when I hit green to yellow transition and I confirm sight and smell, I will increase the airflow to medium. My medium on my machine is a 60 on the dial, but a medium airflow, okay? So already I'm on the downturn, right? So we're here. I'm already at the downturn here. So I don't need to change my fuel at this point. Plus another like, this kind of works into like the experience of roasting dark. We're gonna need more energy to travel longer in the roast. So I'm not really keen to be adjusting things very quickly, conversely to like say a light roast, right? Like a light roast, I can make a lot of kind of jumpy movements at the roaster and still pretty much roast it well enough. But with a dark roast, you're having to maintain this flame in your hands, right? Kind of like cradling this flame. And you need to travel a little bit longer without snuffing the flame or making the flame too big, right? So definitely a lot more challenging. But anyway, so I've got the gas on. Maybe we're still at 2 kPa, and I'm looking at the ROR, and it's telling me we're driving along down the road, and if we veer too much, you know, if I'm driving this way, my car's orientation is this way, you know, I'm driving this way. If I'm veering too much left, that means I'm going too much north, or I veer too much right, I'm veering too much south. Then that tells me that I should be making a little bit more adjustments on the gas. So very much so, my ROR is kind of like, you know, my big heat management lever. And my air is more of my fine adjustment management of heat lever. Okay, so that's kind of how I think of it. And balancing those two, like air is a little bit more finer, and the gas is a big lever, you know, bigger lever of that manipulation. Okay, so I want to stretch this for a good amount of time. This could maybe be shorter. I don't know. I'll have to maybe do another one. But as long as I'm hitting at least 4 minutes and I'm under 5, I feel like I'm okay. Like I haven't stalled it, and I haven't underdeveloped it, because I want the coffee to be sweet. I want it to be really kind of like more milk chocolatey. So I feel like the range in here, I feel like is okay, is passing. Now, if I went into 5 minutes, I'd be like, I maybe stalled it or was too gentle with it in my speculation, okay? So then at first crack, we hit this here at 386, which I was feeling at the time at the roaster. I was like, oh, did I stall it? I felt like I did. But always, before we make any snap judgments about this coffee, is like, just do your plan, do your plan. And then you got to cup it, give it proper time to rest and all that stuff. Brew it, cup it and brew it, and see if you indeed made a mistake. And I feel like I didn't. But those are the things, that I kind of go through. All right, so let's talk about the finish. So after first crack, the air's fully open. I'm kind of hovering. The heat kind of hovers in between. It started here at 2, right? 2. We get down into here. Maybe it becomes like 1.5. 1. Air comes on. I'm still at 1, still at 1, still at 1. Maybe in the middle of the last phase, I can lower the heat a little bit, cut that in half. Maybe it's 0.5 now. And then we start to see this little upturn here, if you can see it. This little upturn. It's because it's probably about to hit second crack here. And so we dropped at 1344 and 412, which was good. I was like, I don't want to go to like past 415 into the 420 area. I feel like I'll lose that sort of like that berry sweetness that I do taste in it when I do it correctly on a medium roast. I want to kind of maintain that as much as possible. But if we get milk chocolates all throughout here and that roasty, nostalgic flavor, then cool, good, So there you go. That is my dark roast. And when I'm looking in the sight glass, I really don't want to reach anything where like oils are present, but I really am looking for this sort of puffed up coffee. I have been testing this in and out as the days go by, and the resting has time to affect the coffee, and how does it affect it? And it'll be, obviously it'll be different for every coffee. And it's up to me as the roaster to like find out what those nuances are, if any, if I can pick it out, but the point is to do that work of like, well, what is it? Let's discover it, and, maybe like a typical like dark roast that I see other people do is maybe like a solid 14 minutes, and I'm always afraid of like going too dark because, if that roastiness like sort of eliminates any fruit in the cup that I had tasted, like say in a medium roast. And I always like want to retain a little bit of that. And like I said earlier in this video, is like, I don't want to just blanket it with roast flavor. Like, where's the artistry in that? So again, the ego speaks to me. Make it still specialty, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't know. That's why I'm here to find out and here to record it. And like, I'll make these videos and be like, does this help anybody? I hope it does. I really sincerely hope it does. Not too many people are keen to put out their roast curves. And I think, I don't want to be all too, I just hope it helps. Like, it was so hard to just see where people were coming from. And I think people were afraid, because I'm certainly afraid doing this kind of thing, but I do it anyway, because at the end of the day, I don't care. I don't care if you like it or not. You know what I mean? It gives me a little bit of freedom, and it took me a while to get to this point of not caring. Even if you didn't like it, I'd be like, well, why? And let me go figure out why, and then let me compare it to what I'm doing, and then like confirm for myself, decide for myself, like, well, that's what they're doing. I tried their way. It didn't work for me. Okay. like I'm still open to people's I guess criticisms and things like that, but at the end of the day I decide what I'm going to do. You know, they're not here turning the knobs and filling the orders and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, that's what gives me a sort of like feeling of freedom, I guess, not to feel too encumbered by the fear of putting stuff like this out and be like, this is what I do, you know, take it or leave it. I hope you can take something helpful from it. Okay. So, all right. Anyway, hope that was helpful. Dark roasts have always been sort of tough for me, and I'm always like hesitant to put in until I feel somewhat competent about it. And I'd have to go through, you know, a couple of tries with a certain coffee for me to feel that I can put this here and say dark, right? So anyway, thanks for taking a chance. I hope you like it. So I will see you in the next one. Bye.